I am joined by, it's been a long time. She hasn't been on my show in a while. I am joined by the always
Can you
fabulous.
see me?
I can see you. Yes, I can. And I can hear you. I can hear you great.
Wait, I can't see you. Hold on.
Yeah,
Something's
you
not
won't
right.
be able to see me. I should have told you that earlier. So the audience can see you. I can see you. And we can hear you. How are you, April Rain? How are you?
I am well, thank you. Thanks for having me back again.
My pleasure. It has been a long time. Where have you been?
Oh,
That's a big question, right?
busy.
You've been
Yeah,
busy.
I've been several different places, but always happy to be back on the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Yeah, and I never told my audience, and I never really said it on Twitter, but the craziest thing happened. I was in New York for the Left Forum, and I honestly, I didn't tell you this, but I had gotten on the wrong subway, right? I got turned around and got on the wrong subway, and I jumped on the right subway at the last second, and lo and behold, I saw somebody that looked familiar. And I said, wait a minute, that's April Rain. So I shouted out the subway, and me and April Rain, you're not from New York, and I'm not from New York, but we ended up being in New York on the same day, same time, same subway, and we got a chance to talk, and that was great. So I just wanted to share that that was really fun running into you and catching up and like old times. Now, I know you've been gone and you've been busy.
Absolutely, old times like the for the first time.
Old times like the first time, right? Yeah, we can definitely establish that baseline. One of the reasons I haven't been able to catch up with you in a long time is because you've been on a whirlwind tour, basically discussing Oscars So White, and you've done a phenomenal job with it as the creator, and you've been really forwarding the message of bringing a level of diversity to the Academy and to the award. Just you brought light to a lot of things. And this week there was some amazing news that came out that I felt I should bring you on. Tell us about what happened this week and some of the implications. What does it actually mean that the Academy is diversifying, bringing
Well,
diversity? Yeah.
it's good. Yes, it's good news. It's a good first step. So the Academy has announced that they are bringing in 680, well, they have sent out invitations, I'll say, to 683 new members, both
Mm-hmm.
artists and film executives, and just people in love with films, because there are some at-large positions as well.
Mm-hmm.
This is more than double uh,
Wow.
the previous class, which was the class last year for 2015, was their largest ever, and then they've I think it's around 322, and now they've doubled that with 683. So what that means is, of the new class, 41% of the new class is women.
Mm.
So over 300 new women are coming into the academy, assuming they accept, and why would you not?
Mm.
And almost 300 are people of color.
Wow.
So it's good news. I think it is more than what was expected, but of course, April is never happy, and so a lot more still needs to be done.
April's never happy, but you know what? There still is work that needs to be done, right? So we can't. I was talking to Michelangelo Signorelli about a year ago, and he was talking about, sometimes when we get these victories, we get victory blindness, and we think that we've made it when in actuality there's still a lot of work to be done. So this is a big win, right? No, I mean, no one can minimize the impact that this would have. But what are some of the other things? What are some of the other work that needs to be done to move diversity forward?
Sure. Well, it is a win. I'm not sure that I would categorize it as a big win,
Hmm.
because when you drill down in the numbers, what you realize is that the percentage of people of color, with these hundreds of new people that are coming in, only increases from 8% to 11%. So that still means that the academy is going to be 89% white.
Hmm.
Similarly, the numbers for women are increasing from 25% to 27%, so just a 2% increase. And so that means that the academy is still going to be 73% male. And the youngest person to be extended an invitation is 24, and
Wow.
the oldest is 91. And the average age of Academy members before this was around 66. So they haven't released those numbers, but I'm assuming that means that the average age is still going to be in the high 50s or low 60s. So we're still talking about an Academy that is 89% male, 73% white, and in their second half of life, let's say with respect to age. And so that's the concern, because even though they're bringing in nearly 700 new people, it still means that the demographics overall of the Academy were so slanted to begin with, that this is an incremental change, but a change nonetheless.
So let's unpack it a little further, right? Particularly in the conversation of representation. So I am, for lack of a better word, I'm a socialist. I think in terms of class all the time. All the time. I put class first. Even though I'm black, I put class first, and race is tied, right? It's like neck and neck tied, and depending on the situation. So a lot of times I don't pay attention to representation and diversity. I kind of put that secondary, particularly with Hollywood. I mean, they're all rich. Why should I even care that there's diversity in the Academy? Why should I even care that there's diversity in Hollywood when they're just a bunch of rich people and they're not worried about the plight of poor people? I threw a big one at you.
I'm glad you asked. Ben. Yes, I appreciate that softball. You should care because what I believe is that the Academy can only nominate quality films that are made. So the onus is still on Hollywood to increase its ranks. But what the Academy has done with not just bringing in, with this new class of membership, is it's not just about the actors and actresses. This extends to over a dozen different categories. So that means more casting directors of color, and more female casting directors, more cinematographers, producers, executives, the people that are in the room that are making the decisions about which films are going to be greenlit, now look more diverse than they did a year ago. So that's the important part. And, they all have more money than you and I do, but
Combined
not all of
times
them
10.
are multi. Exactly, but they don't. They're not all mega millionaires. We're talking. Some of them are documentary filmmakers. And historically, those are people in short film and short animated filmmakers. And historically, those are people who do not necessarily have the deep pockets, but still have the talent, and then just need the opportunity, which hopefully this becoming a member of the Academy will grant them.
My son went somewhere with my wife the other week, and she told me what happened there. He went to a party, and at the party there was a doctor, and it was a black doctor, and he came home and said, "Daddy, I met a black doctor." I was like, "Really?" And I looked at my wife, and I was kind of curious. I'm like, "What made him say it like that?" And he said, "I had never seen a black doctor before." I mean, we're in Boston, so that makes sense, right? Yeah, we barely.
It's not rare, yeah.
If it's winter, we don't see black people at all. That's just how Boston is. And then at that point, it really dawned on me that something that I've heard you say millions of times. I've heard other people say that representation matters. We need to see ourselves in key positions, especially at an early age. Would you talk about it from that perspective, and the impact of what Oscar So White will have on just having a representation and having young people and old people to be able to see themselves in some important roles?
Right. Well, that's what I've been fighting for. I have children too, and so I want them to be able to see themselves and their stories up on the big screen or on the stage, or even in our home on our TV screen. And that's really the whole point of Oscar So White, sort of bringing in marginalized communities that have been traditionally underrepresented in the entertainment industry, and giving them the opportunity to tell their stories. So again, you go back to to casting directors, everybody works from their own frame of reference, and that's not a bigotry or discriminatory or racist thing. You just bring your own baggage into the room. Everybody does that, and so having a casting director of color may mean that they have a different mindset with respect to how a particular role should look for a character, and so maybe they've got something different in their mind when people come into the room. So it's important then, therefore, for young actors and actresses and older actors and actresses, because there's also an age thing there, right? That they should get the opportunity too. Same thing for directors, because and producers, all of these categories have increased their diversity ranks, and it's so very important that when people are sitting around, these big boardrooms, as I've imagined it in my mind, and talked about, not only who is going to be in front of the camera, but who is going to tell the story behind the camera, the cinematographers and directors, that we're using a broader stroke than our own personal frame of reference, and saying, why can't Don Cheadle play, Matt Damon's role in the first Martian, or Daniel Day Kim? Why can't we have, Shala Lynch, who's a fantastic documentary filmmaker? Why can't she helm a, $20 million budget to do something important on Black women in film? So those are the questions that I want to see asked. Why can't this person do this role? Because there's so many that can be considered neutral, I guess. It doesn't necessarily have to be a person of a specific gender or hue or what have you.
Yeah, let's shift gears. Speaking of Hollywood, right? Let's shift gears. I haven't talked about the speech by Jesse Williams at the BET Awards. That really, that was to say it was a great speech is an understatement. It really was something. And it pissed a lot of white people off, right? So we'll talk about that in the second half.
It pissed off some Black people too.
Yeah, surprise! It does. It's amazing how that works, right? Tell me about the speech. I was following your timeline, so I know everything that you thought about the speech. I know everything. I know. I won't even say some of the things that you said about the speech, but tell me what you thought about the speech and what were some of your favorite moments out of that speech.
Oh man. I really think that it was a seminal moment in television, and I don't think that's really overstating it too much.
Right.
Not only because, because of what he said, but also because of how he said it and where he said it. Because let's remember, it wasn't just broadcast on BET; it was also broadcast on Nickelodeon,
right.
And several other stations. And so those who may not normally have been interested in the BET Awards may have gotten, a very hard dose of reality from Jesse Williams' speech. He started the speech after thanking his parents and his beautiful wife by saying that, the award is for Black women, and that, we as Black men can and will do better by Black women. And I think that set the tone, and it was absolutely beautiful. And he called everybody out. He called out white folks who like to think sometimes of themselves as allies, and especially those who don't consider themselves as allies. He called out Black folks who are operating from a position of class and economic privilege, and saying, do not rest on your laurels. Again, he called out Black men. So, no one was immune that night. One of the other just fantastic things, and if you know about Jesse Williams, you know that, he's been woke, as we say, for a long, long time. But the fact that he used his platform to speak so eloquently and passionately about Black people. When he didn't have to, and when it may mean, less roles for him, that, that it's going, and he has even spoken of the fact that as a man with a Black father and a white mother, he operates from a position of privilege as well, not just with respect to his finances, but also, his light skin, and his European features, whatever that means, and his blue eyes. And he spoke about that as well. So he really, and it was the best 5 minutes in television that I can think of for the last decade. And he hit it on all cylinders.
I mean, he hit it on all cylinders. He was powerful. He was bold. And he was sharp, man. The brother was clean. It was a good looking brother to deliver a powerful message. And he just had everybody captivated, not focused on anything else but the message. Like when he said, it's not the burden of the brutalized. I'm sorry. The burden of the brutalized is not to comfort the bystander. That's not our job. I mean, he really put into context this entire past year of people, and 2 years really, of people telling us that you shouldn't protest this way. You're disturbing this X, Y, and Z. Like that line by itself really just catapulted the message and amplified it like 1,000-fold to me. What did you think about that particular line?
Yeah, I love that line, to me, he was saying, it's not our job to make you feel comfortable, and we've got so much going on that your hurt feelings, or the fact that, you can't get your Frappuccino because, we are staging a sit-in in the middle of the mall, you need to get over that because we've got things to do. One of the other lines was something about, oh my goodness, I'm
if you have no interest
now.
If you have no interest and no interest in equal rights for Black people, then don't make a suggestion to those who do. Sit down. That
exactly. Right. And so that was something of, and I think that was sort of a response to those, and that may have been a response to maybe the older Black folks who have been critical of the Black Lives Matter movement, and the beautiful thing is that he didn't say, hey, I'm talking to you, Black men right now, or hey, I'm talking to you, older civil rights activists. But it was clear who he was talking about, and the other line was, if you're going to critique, it's something like, if you're going to critique what we're doing, make sure that you have also critiqued the oppression under which we operate.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
It's so many points. Now me as a speaker and me as an observer, political observer, like I saw his brain working. Like I can see the machinations in his mind where he was calculating and taking his time and thinking about every thought. The last thing that jumped out to me was
it was lyrical. It was for me. It was poetry.
It was
because I watched it more than once. The thing about the brands on our bodies. Talking about how. Oh, yeah, and I mean, it gave me chills. We're talking about the brands, meaning from slavery, how they used to brand us to identify us. And now here, so many people are working toward, getting brands or endorsements put on our bodies and getting that money. And, and he kept saying brands on our bodies. And it really was poetry to me. It was lyrical explanation of everything that he was feeling. And it just could not have been any better.
No, it's not possible. I don't think anyone could have done it better. I don't think he could have possibly said it better, because to me, as I listened to his speech, he did what he did. I love to see people do what you think you would have done in a situation, right? When instead of somebody not rising to the occasion, I would rather see someone rise to those heights and say everything that you could have imagined to say and then some. And he really hit the nail on the head, that perfect intersection between race struggles and racial justice and class justice. I mean, he even called out the rich Black. He said, we're all here getting money. We're all about that money. But as soon as we get it, it's gone. I mean, I don't think anyone left there unscathed. It was perfect. April, I'll let you get the last word and tell everyone how to get up with you.
Yes, I am Reign of April everywhere, REIGN of April, Facebook, Instagram. My website is Reign of April, but most importantly, you'll find me on Twitter dispensing craziness and wit sometimes at 140 characters at a time.
Listen, I said it the other day, and I absolutely mean it. Most of the time, I'm on Twitter. I'm ready for a fight. I'm looking for a fight. I mean, I love it when somebody wants to, challenge me. But there's like 3 people in the world world that I would never want to get into it with. One is Yvette Carnell. I've already said that live on the air a couple of times. And two is you. I won't disclose the third person, but you're in that group of people on Twitter I don't want it with ever. So let's stay friends, right?
Absolutely. No, you are my brother from another mother. I'm always happy to be on the show. And even when we disagree on particular matters, you know, I appreciate, you know, where you're coming from, and you're just a smart dude. So I'm always happy to be around.
Aren't you glad the primaries are all but over?
You know, I'm glad for you because I was concerned about your heart rate. So, you know, I have really tuned it out. You know, I am part of that girl, I guess, with her contingent who will be voting for Hillary because they're afraid of a Trump presidency. But, you know, but I still haven't, you know, I'm not necessarily advocating for her, but I think the alternative is literally scary. So, yes, I'm glad to have you back in the fold.
Glad to be back. And thankfully, I'm in Massachusetts, so I don't have to vote for Hillary. I might even vote for Jill Stein. You never know. April Rain, thanks so much for joining me. Always a pleasure. Give my best to everyone that you know, give my best to your peoples. All right.
Will do. Thank you very much.